Are you dealing with Achilles tendon pain? We're gonna go over the top 6 mistakes people are doing that's actually making their Achilles tendon pain worse. My name is Dr. Marco Lopez, Doctor of Physical Therapy and Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist and co-founder of the Basketball Doctors. In today's video, we're going to go over the top 6 mistakes people do during the rehab for Achilles tendinopathy. And the biggest thing is we're really addressing more of that tendinosis, that chronic, not so much the tendinitis. So if you want to learn more about Achilles tendinopathy on the different types of Achilles tendon pain, like tendinosis versus tendinitis, click the description below. We have great videos on our Achilles tendon series. But let's go into our first mistake. The first mistake is that people rest completely when it comes to Achilles tendinopathy / tendinosis pain. So the biggest thing is when you have a tendinosis, it's more of a chronic degeneration and you decrease the capacity of the tendon. So when you rest it even more, the capacity gets smaller. So whenever you go back to your activity, and you'll see this oftentimes, they're like, hey, I rested it for the week. I went back because it felt good during the week when I rested it, but when I go back, it got flared up again. That's because it's more of a tendinopathy, it's not an inflammation. So when we completely rest, the tendon gets weaker. So instead, what we have to do is more modified rest. So meaning you limit your activities, but you're still doing your activities, still doing your rehab exercises, but you're not completely resting it. You want to slowly build up that tolerance for that tendon. So, maybe you're playing 2 hours of basketball, you cut it down to 30 minutes, but you want to have some sort of activity, not completely resting it, because that's going to lead to decreased capacity of the tendon and make things even worse. Rehab mistake number 2, people use a heel lift. So a heel lift, just imagine this is your foot. A heel lift is a thing in the bottom of your heel. It's a cushion that's going to put your foot in a slight plantar flexion. Plantar flexion meaning this way, as opposed to dorsiflexion going this way. So when it puts it in a plantar flexion, what happens is it's actually going to help decrease your pain because it's going to offload your Achilles tendon. However, people rely on it too much because over time that Achilles tendon will get tighter. The calf muscle will get tighter because it's off the entire time it's in this position. So we're never going through its normal range of motion of dorsiflexion whenever we're walking or anything. So that's going to get stiff, and that's going to lead to further issues down the line because now we're going to have less ankle mobility. We're also going to have less strength in the Achilles tendon in the bottom ranges because we're only working the top ranges with this lift. So that's the thing that we tell people is use the heel lift early on, but don't rely on it further down the line. Just use it early on to modify everything as we build up your tolerance. And it's going to allow you to do functional stuff early on, but we really want to wean off of it as soon as possible. A lot of the times people use it for too long. Rehab mistake number 3, and this is a very common one, is people rely too much on isometrics. So isometrics are very big now. Everyone's doing it. We love doing them, but that's only one piece of the puzzle. So don't just use isometrics and think I'm going to be able to go back to sport just by doing my calf raise, holding it there for 30 to 45 seconds. There's different factors that we have to play in, different issues. So a lot of the times people are just using isometrics. You got to add in different factors such as eccentrics. You got to go through the whole range of motion of the exercises and going in through other muscle groups, which we'll talk about later. But this is a great little segment to pitch our Achilles tendon program because not only do we do isometrics, but we do the full spectrum of exercises and getting you all the way back to the basketball court or any activity you like through our online program. Click the description below. Rehab mistake number 4 is a lot of the times we focus just on the calf, which is great early on, that's a big first way, but that's more of a cookie cutter approach. We have to start targeting all the other muscles because what happens is all the other muscles play a huge role in stabilizing the foot, and we also have to look at other parts going up the chain. So not just kind of pigeonhole yourself just in the Achilles tendon itself doing calf raises, but we also have to address the posterior tibialis, the peroneal group, the quads, the hamstrings, the glutes, going through some movement, but not just relying on that Achilles tendon. And that's where our program has those variables in. We're addressing the entire leg, not just the Achilles tendon itself. Rehab mistake number 5 is people end up doing the calf raise the wrong way. So the biggest thing with the calf raise, it's a huge part of our Achilles tendinopathy tendinosis program, but you got to do it the right way. So a lot of times people don't go the full range of motion for the calf raise. So one of the things is we want to go up as high as we can, and we realize when we see people in person and online is that they don't go up as high. So they're missing out on that top portion of the calf, which is huge to get that triple extension. And what happens is you'll see the huge difference between left and right. Another thing is not only going all the way to the top whenever you do these calf raises, is how you're pushing off your foot to get there. Sometimes we go up in our calf raise and we go out to the side. Our foot goes out to the side. We want to make sure we're going straight neutral. Our knees align with our second and third toe. We're pushing off the big toe. That's really going to get us the full lift on our calf raise. And the calf raise is an essential part of this program, so you got to make sure you're doing it right. Rehab mistake number 6, going back to sport too quickly. So the biggest thing is you're doing all the right things. You're doing your exercises, your isometrics, you do your eccentrics, you have less pain. Now you're like, you know what? I'm ready to go back to sport. But you got to make sure you have the proper jumping progressions, proper plyo progressions to make sure you're ready for the demands of basketball. And that's where our Achilles Tendon program comes in. We have the right level of plyo progressions, because isometrics, eccentrics are only going to do so much. You want to make sure you're adding in hopping, skipping, different variations of jumping before you go back into your sport, because most of the time the sports involve you jumping, doing all the different cutting motions which involve pushing off. So you need to make sure you're working that part of your rehab. So let's just kind of summarize the top 6 rehab mistakes. The first one is that whenever we're doing our Achilles tendon rehab or anything like that, we got to make sure that we're not completely resting, we're modifying our rest. Okay. Number 2 is now we're not over relying on that heel lift. A lot of the doctors prescribe it, it's great initially, but don't over rely it down the line. Number 3, we don't just want to do isometrics. We want to start incorporating other exercises as well. Isometrics only get you so far. We got to go through eccentric, we got to go through the full range of motion of the calf raise as well. Number 4 is not just relying just on that Achilles tendon and the calf muscle. Let's look at the peroneals, let's look at the posterior tibialis, let's look at the quad, hamstring, glute. Let's go look at the entire leg. Number 5, we have to, whenever we do this rehab program, we want to make sure we're doing the calf raises the right way. Because if we do it the incorrect way, we're shortcoming that big part of our rehab. Number 6, the most important one is make sure you're making the right progressions to go back to sport. Just doing the isometrics, doing all the stuff that we did are great, but the final piece is making sure you're doing the plyometric progressions and everything in order to go back to basketball. Hopefully you guys learned a lot about this video. If you guys have any questions, comment below. And also, if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, share this with friends and family. We are the Basketball Doctors. Let's ball for life.